Hey, love. Welcome to Christianish. This is the podcast for women who have Bibles but lack boundaries. My name is Keshia Rice. I am a dating coach and hypnotherapist, and I thought to end 2024, we were going to do something different by giving you something that very few women have heard before. So, a little while ago, I did a special training called Heart, and it was all about how to attract a high value man. Now, this training was done for a very small niche group, and I recently got permission to share it more widely. And I think that as we end this year, it would be great to give you a chance to listen to this training, hear all of the things that it requires to attract a man who truly loves you, cherishes you, and takes care of you. I hope that by listening to these trainings, and it is 5 days because each day spells out one of the letters in heart. I hope that by listening to these, this will help you make your love list as you end this year so that you can prepare to attract the love that you want to have in the new year. So, we are going to end this year with 5 days of this heart training, and these are going out the week of Christmas. Christianish will not be airing for the last week of 2024 because I will be on vacation, but I will see you guys in 2025. So enjoy the training. Love you so much.
You did it. You made it to video 5 of how to attract a high value man. So, in these videos, we have been talking about attracting a high value purpose partner using the heart method. So, if you have not watched the previous 4 videos, please go do that. But we've talked about healing and how important it is to heal from your toxic situations, whether those are romantic relationships, familiar relationships, even platonic relationships, in order to stop that cycle of settling, people pleasing, or attracting users. We talked about expectations and how you want to set the proper intentions before you go on dates. We talked about attention and how to stand out among other women, plus also how to properly give attention and boost your attraction that way. And we talked about what rules you want to have in place as you go about this dating process. So, the final letter in heart, of course, is T, and we're talking about tenacity. So, I hope that this one is going to be less of a teaching you something and more just putting something in perspective for you as you go about this dating process. Because I am not going to lie, dating, relationships, they can be brutal. And the reason why is because, of course, you're dealing with something so deeply personal. You are dealing with heart stuff here. And there's always this possibility of getting hurt. So, because of that, we put ourselves at risk whenever we go into dating relationships. And I want you to acknowledge that. And I also want you to accept that because without the risk, there's no reward. You're going to deal with heartbreak. You're going to deal with men who are just dusty and annoying. And because you're going to deal with those things, you might be tempted to give up. I know so many women who will tell me that they have tried online dating. And when I ask further questions, it turns out that they did it for like a week. You know, I'm just going to be honest with you. That's not really trying. When I did online dating, I did that on and off for a good 2, 3 years. And I met some amazing men during that process. I met some trash men during that process. But I also learned so much about myself. And I learned so many things that I carry into my marriage now. So without that opportunity, then I don't think I would have learned those things. I don't think I would have had those experiences. And it also just taught me how to stay in the game. Marriage is not the fairy tale ending. It's not the end. It is the beginning. And in some cases that is wonderful. I can tell you, having been married for a little over a year now, that marriage has been a huge adventure for my husband and I. And we've had some amazing experiences, and I can't wait to see what experiences that we have as we spend the rest of our lives together. That being said, marriage has also had like its arguments, and it has had those days that are down days where you just want to sleep, and your husband wants to like get up and have the TV on loud early in the morning. So learning that patience and tenacity in dating is going to take you so far in your married life as well. So I just wanted to share a few statistics for you. There was a study that was done actually in the UK, and it was a survey of about 3,000 adults. It was commissioned by an author for his book on dating and relationships. So again, the study was done in the UK, but I feel like it applies to pretty much any person in the Western world. So, according to this survey, again, they surveyed about 3,000 men and women for this. The average man has had 6 relationships, and the average woman has had 5 relationships before meeting the one and getting married. Now, over the course of that dating process, both men and women say that they had an average of 4 dates that were complete and total disasters, like just awful. I know I've been there. I think 4 is probably a little bit low for me, actually. And also, again, men have on average had 6 relationships, women have had 2 relationships. So, as far as the time period for these relationships, um, both men and women have had an average of 2 relationships that lasted a year or longer. So we are talking about serious, significant relationships here. And also, men and women say on average they've been cheated on once. So, heartbreak is something that you face and something that you deal with. That is part of the process. So, if you've been in that position, I don't want you to feel defeated because it happens to a lot of people. And again, the survey is of people who eventually found their purpose partner. So, be willing to accept that process. And if you've been hurt, we talked about that in video 1, do the work to heal and then get back out there and don't give up on finding that purpose partner. So, even when it comes to getting married, data from the United States Census found that men and women are getting married later in life. The average man gets married at 30 here in the US, and the average woman gets married at 28 here in the US. And before you say something like, well, that's still young, it is a lot older than even just like 10 years ago. So people are marrying later. I know that when I got married, the first number in my age was 3. So don't also think that it's too late or that you're too old or any of those other limiting beliefs because you have a 3 or a 4 or a 5 or a 6 or whatever in front of your age. One of my favorite motivational speakers is Lisa Nichols, and she is 54 years old at the time that I'm doing this video, and she is engaged. She is newly engaged, and she talks about how she went through a very long process of healing, um, and being able to make peace with her past before she was able to be in a relationship that would lead to an engagement. So just remember that your timeline is your own. And I am pointing this out because this may sound like a woo woo pep talk, you to really, really hear what I'm trying to tell you. Because without tenacity, you will not have that healthy relationship that you are seeking. You will not find that purpose partner who's going to cherish you. You know, I am a preacher's daughter. I come from a family of counselors. My parents counsel plenty of other couples. And I was a quiet kid, which means that oftentimes I was in rooms and people did not realize that I was in them. So I can tell you just from growing up and that experience of frankly being nosy and listening into counseling sessions, um, I knew so many women who were unhappily married and who stayed in those relationships because they got married young and because they didn't feel like they had any other options or because they wanted to save face. They thought it would be an embarrassment to get divorced. And I'm not saying that, you know, you shouldn't get married young, because on the other hand, I have friends who married at 22, 23 and are very happy. Um, but what I'm saying is that don't be so focused on someone else's timeline, focus on yours. And also don't be so quick to give up on things just because, you know, things happen faster for someone else. I see this happen too, that, you know, particularly with online dating, this is something I spend a lot of time with my clients with. So, you know, I see women give up on online dating after a couple of weeks or after a couple of months because they're like, well, this isn't working for me. I don't really like this. I'm not enjoying this experience. And, you know, I don't get it. My friend was like online dating for like a month before she met her husband. And that's all well and good. That's cool for her. But that doesn't mean that that's how the process works for you. And you don't know what the circumstances are. A, you don't know how happy she is. So please don't try to judge like other people's happiness based on what you see outwardly. Um, B, even if she is happy and everything, um, people who have happy, healthy relationships have done work. So you may have seen that she was dating online for a month and met her husband. You don't know how much work she put into healing herself before that moment came. You don't know how much time that she has spent on reading the books, listening to the podcasts, praying, meditating, journaling. You don't know if she saw a coach or she saw a therapist. Um, I have clients who will never, ever, ever tell you that they saw me. They just don't want to admit to having had a coach or having had a therapist. And that's fine. I mean, I honestly think that we should remove those stigmas and talk about that more. I'm very open about the fact that I've had coaches and therapists, but at the same time, I use that to point out that again, you don't know what work someone else has done. Also, our biggest breakthroughs always happen right after that moment where we feel like giving up. Whether that is in love, because I can tell you in my own personal journey, I spent a few years, you know, healing from some very bad relationships, some abusive relationships. And even when I got to a point where I was healthy and I was dating and I wasn't in these terrible relationships anymore, I was frustrated because I was in a lot of lackluster relationships. And I remember just praying to God, like, what is happening? Like, I'm meeting all these guys and they're fine men, but they're definitely not my men. Like, it's just not there. And I don't understand what the holdup is, honestly. So, you know, it's important that when you are in this season of singleness, that you recognize that this is a process and that this is the journey. And honestly, wouldn't you rather get it right and then have that healthy marriage with your purpose partner than to rush the process and sabotage the relationship, or get into a marriage and not have one that is as healthy as you thought it was going to be? So that is why we are talking about tenacity as this final video. You will probably experience heartbreak. You will date dusty men. I can guarantee it. If you are doing the online dating thing If you're using apps, you will see more dusty men. Um, just being honest, the pool is bigger when you're dating online. So, because the pool is bigger, there's more trash in the ocean. Um, there's also more awesome men in the ocean. It just becomes a matter of finding them, but knowing there's more of both kinds. So, sift through the trash and find the treasure. Yeah, but don't give up. If there is anything in the world that is worth holding on to and not settling in, it is your relationships. So, love, just know it will be worth it. Have that tenacity. So, again, this is the last video in the series. I love you so much. And I just want you to know that that high value partner, he's out there for you. And I also want you to know that this is the beginning of a journey and that there's so many great things to come. So thank you for watching. Please follow me on Instagram over at Keshia Rice. That's Keshia, Rice, Rice. And I will see you online.
This podcast is brought to you by Contessa Digital.